It was supposed to be another chapter in Caitlin Clark's rise, a showcase of raw talent, pinpoint shooting, and the kind of swagger that was drawing millions of new eyes to the WNBA. But one uncalled foul changed everything. One brutal moment turned a highlight reel into a headline disaster, and now the league that was finally climbing out of obscurity is suddenly on the brink of chaos. In the fourth quarter of a tense game between the Indiana Fever and Connecticut Sun, Clark collapsed after a collision with J.C. Sheldon. The video? Viral in minutes. A knee to the groin, caught from multiple angles, with a referee standing just feet away, silent. The response? Even quieter. No foul, no ejection, no league statement. But fans didn't need one. Their judgment was swift and their outrage deafening. But what looked like a single cheap shot quickly unraveled into something much deeper. A brewing storm of resentment, broken trust, and behind-the-scenes panic. Was it personal? Was it political? Was it negligence or sabotage? As the story ballooned, so did the stakes. What followed was a whirlwind of injury reports, media firestorms, sponsor threats, and the kind of front office scrambling that happens when a business model is built around one name, and that name might not suit up again this season. This wasn't just a foul, it was a reckoning. Caitlin Clark was mid-stride, orchestrating yet another signature play. With her eyes scanning the floor, she slung a sharp backdoor pass and darted ahead to reset the offense. But as she crossed half court, J.C. Sheldon stepped into her path. From one angle, the play looked like standard transition defense. From another, especially the now infamous baseline view, it looked calculated. Sheldon's knee rose high, striking Clark square in the groin. Clark went down immediately, clutching her thigh in visible pain. No whistle, no replay, no medical timeout. The game went on. But the internet didn't. Within minutes, the clip was everywhere. Millions watched, millions commented, and a question echoed louder than the buzzer. How was that not a flagrant? What most fans didn't realize was that this wasn't just another matchup. It was personal. Clark and Sheldon had history. Big Ten rivals who'd clashed in conference semifinals, exchanged jabs in post-game pressers, and fueled highlight reels with their tension. In 2023, their semifinal showdown featured 5 technicals in under 8 minutes, 2 of them on Clark, 1 on Sheldon. Officials later admitted the game nearly got called early for safety. Since then, their encounters in the WNBA had simmered just beneath the surface. Earlier in the season, Sheldon poked Clark in the eye on a contested drive. Commentators brushed it off. Weeks later, Clark took a hip check that sent her sprawling near the scorer's table. Again, Sheldon. Each time, no flagrant, no discipline. Was this just hard-nosed defense, or was it something darker? A rivalry that had turned into vendetta? Normally, when a star player is involved in a controversial hit, the league acts fast. A review, a fine, a suspension, even a basic statement. But in this case, nothing. Not a single word from Commissioner Kathy Engelbert or the WNBA press team. That silence made everything worse. By the next morning, #ProtectClark was trending nationwide. SportsCenter ran slow-mo replays like it was a playoff buzzer beater. Commentators, fans, and former players weighed in. Rebecca Lobo. I've seen less contact called for flagrants. Becky Hammon. We need to decide if protecting stars is a priority, because right now, it's not. The lack of a whistle had become more than a bad call. It was an indictment. Clark wasn't just a player. She was the face of the league's future. Her games tripled viewership. Her jersey outsold every veteran. Her arrival brought new TV deals, ad revenue, and sponsorship interest the league had only dreamed of. So when news broke that Clark had re-aggravated her groin injury during the Sheldon hit and would miss the All-Star game, the blow wasn't just emotional, it was financial. All-Star tickets plummeted 35% in value overnight. On resale apps, passes that once sold for hundreds were going for a single dollar. Some fans simply gave them away, disgusted with the league's silence. A viral spreadsheet updated in real time showed available seats surging by the hour. One row had 41 returns in a single afternoon. Comments beneath? Savage. No Clark, no point. This isn't the league I supported. She gets kneed, no foul, we get ejected for clapping? At a Fever home game just days later, a fan wearing a Clark jersey stood and applauded after a missed shot by the opposing team. Nothing over the top, no yelling, no jeering, but he was swarmed by security. Video footage shows him calmly clapping while sitting in the second row. Suddenly, 3 security guards approach. He's asked to leave. Confused, he complies, but the damage is done. Knee to the groin, play on. Clapping, you're out, read one top comment. The video went viral, and the optics were catastrophic. What fans didn't see was the chaos erupting inside WNBA headquarters. Sources close to the situation say sponsors were furious. Several brands reportedly paused ad campaigns until Clark's status was clarified. A few asked for partial refunds. One even threatened to pull its logo from the All-Star game entirely. Executives huddled in emergency Zoom calls, scrambling for a PR plan. But without a clear ruling on the Sheldon hit and no medical clarity on Clark's condition, there was nothing to say. Internally, the divide was stark. Some execs wanted to suspend Sheldon immediately. Others feared the backlash of making her a scapegoat. And looming over everything, the realization that one player was now propping up the league's future. Clark's impact goes beyond the court. A report from Pinnacle Analytics estimated that Clark's presence generated over $600,000 in ad value per televised game. Her social media mentions drove traffic spikes. Her highlights were used in 90% of WNBA promotional materials this season. Her Nike deal alone dwarfed previous league records. One exec put it bluntly, she's Steph Curry, LeBron James, and Sabrina Ionescu rolled into one for our bottom line. So when she was injured, the business model cracked. ESPN quickly reshuffled its all-star coverage. Instead of Clark versus Reese storylines, they pivoted to rookie surprises. Sponsors pulled logo placements. Social media engagement dropped 40% in the days following the announcement. The league was exposed, not just to criticism, but to dependency. Sheldon, meanwhile, vanished from public view. Her name was pulled from the team's media schedule. She didn't dress for the next game. Coaches said she was unavailable, but no explanation was given. Rumors swirled. Was she suspended? Was it a quiet benching to cool the outrage? Was she injured? No one knew. Some fans rallied behind her. Others turned her into a villain. On social media, she was called everything from a menace to a dirty player. But in the absence of transparency, speculation ruled. And that speculation began to erode more than just one player's reputation. It began to chip away at the leagues. The WNBA finally broke its silence, or at least cracked it. A leaked memo revealed a scheduled Rules Committee meeting for July 22nd. Agenda item number 1, review of illegal contact to head and groin regions. The Players Association demanded a seat at the table. So did team owners. Even the NBA's competition committee reportedly offered oversight. The league didn't confirm any of it, but insiders say it was the first sign of movement in weeks. Fans circled the date. Media outlets prepared segments. The hope that the meeting would lead to change. The fear that it would lead to nothing. As pressure mounted, one name kept surfacing: Adam Silver. The NBA commissioner has long had oversight of the WNBA through shared investments and broadcast partnerships. Back in 2014, he stepped in to handle the Donald Sterling crisis in the NBA. Could he do the same here? Reports say Silver was actively monitoring the situation. Sources close to ESPN claimed he'd been briefed daily since the incident. He hadn't said a word publicly, but he didn't have to. His silence felt louder than the league's. Clark remains sidelined. Sheldon remains absent. Fans remain furious. The WNBA has never had more viewers, more money, or more attention. But it's also never looked more fragile. Will rule changes come? Will suspensions be handed down? Will the league publicly apologize? Or will it double down and risk losing the very audience it finally gained? Nobody knows, and that uncertainty may be the most dangerous part of all. In today's world, the court of public opinion operates faster than any disciplinary panel. And in this case, that courtroom was TikTok, X, Instagram Reels, and YouTube Shorts. Within hours of the incident, fan-edited breakdowns were garnering hundreds of thousands of views. Frame-by-frame analyses appeared with overlays, slow-mo zooms, and on-screen arrows pointing to Sheldon's leg angle, Clark's body posture, and the referee's proximity. Even basketball trainers and former players got involved. Some called it an unintentional high step. Others said the movement looked far too controlled to be accidental. Hashtag campaigns ballooned. Hashtag justice for Clark. Hashtag ban Sheldon. Hashtag save the WNBA. Athletes from other leagues chimed in. A former WNBA MVP tweeted, "If this happened in the NBA, we'd already have a suspension, period." But there was also backlash to the backlash. Some accused fans of overreacting, of weaponizing outrage, of turning a league still fighting for legitimacy into a tabloid sideshow. The debate wasn't just about a knee, it was about credibility, fandom, and who gets to shape the narrative. While media swirled and fan theories flew, two athletes were caught in the storm. Caitlin Clark, benched and rehabbing, stayed largely silent, but those close to her described her as frustrated, mentally drained, and tired of being the punching bag. Off camera, she reportedly asked the league to clarify player protection protocols. Her agency was in contact with WNBA leadership, not just about her injury, but about her long-term role in league branding. Sheldon, meanwhile, reportedly deleted all social media apps from her phone. Friends described her as devastated, saying the narrative being spun wasn't who she was. In private conversations, she allegedly said it was a physical play, not a personal one. Her silence only fueled further speculation. The emotional weight of being painted as either the victim or the villain took its toll on both women, and the league's failure to address it publicly allowed fans to fill the silence with whatever narrative they wanted. This isn't the first time a league has found itself caught between physicality and protection. In the early 2000s, the NBA faced similar backlash when stars like Allen Iverson and Steve Nash suffered repeated hard fouls with little enforcement. It took multiple injuries and sponsor concerns for the NBA to revise its flagrant foul system. The NFL, too, was forced to overhaul its rules after a string of concussions and high-profile lawsuits. Now, the WNBA stands at the same crossroads. Does it let the toughness culture dominate, or does it pivot to protection in an era where players are global brands and league revenue depends on keeping them visible and healthy? This isn't just about basketball, it's about history, and whether the WNBA learns from the past or repeats it. Behind the scenes, agents were furious. One agent representing multiple WNBA stars reportedly fired off a letter to the league office demanding clarity on the rules of engagement. Brand managers were equally unsettled. Clark was the centerpiece of multi-million-dollar campaigns. With her sidelined, companies scrambled to shift creative, pause releases, or delay product launches. ESPN, too, took a hit. Their all-star coverage was built around Clark's presence. Features were scrapped. Production teams were told to pivot tone. Executives feared a major drop in ratings and began pushing harder on backup plans for fall programming. One source said, "There were 5 major sponsors who wanted Caitlin at All-Star Weekend. Now she's out, and we're left explaining why there's no league statement." The WNBA's inability to manage the narrative cost everyone involved, and those relationships, once burned, don't heal quickly. It wasn't just media and fans. Coaches around the league started breaking ranks. Stephanie White, Clark's coach, hinted that repeated contact was beginning to affect Clark's performance and mentality. She's tough, but she's human. No one can take that many hits without thinking twice before driving the lane. Becky Hammon went further. "We can't claim growth and visibility while letting our stars get wrecked. We're selling inspiration to kids and chaos to sponsors. That's a recipe for disaster." Even veteran coaches with no dog in the fight acknowledged a problem. "We're watching history unfold, but we might be ruining it at the same time." The chorus was growing, and the league's silence was starting to sound like complicity. Privately, several WNBA players began discussing the idea of a unified response. A players-only meeting was reportedly held over Zoom. Topics included officiating standards, disciplinary consistency, and public accountability. Some proposed a temporary social media blackout. Others suggested skipping all-star media availability unless the league addressed the issue. While nothing official was announced, the momentum was real. Players were tired of being sidelined while their safety and the league's integrity was questioned. The irony? The incident that threatened to fracture the WNBA was also galvanizing it. This was never just about one foul. It's about whether a league built on grit can survive when the spotlight gets this hot. It's about a commissioner's silence, a fan base's fury, and a star who might be too big to protect. Because when Clark fell, the entire league stumbled with her. So we ask you, should J.C. Sheldon be suspended, fined, or cleared? Should Adam Silver step in before it's too late? And if Caitlin Clark's injury lingers, can the WNBA stay on its feet? Drop your thoughts below, hit that subscribe button for the latest updates, and remember, this isn't just basketball. This is the business of spotlight. And someone just flipped the switch.